Oh my god, you won't believe what I've just found on eBay. I'm going to have to withdraw some petty cash and buy this.
Darren, this magnificent feast here is the last of the petty cash.
Slow down. Chew your food.
The last of the petty cash went down the drain for Twinkies and coffee and a busted chain. No more donuts, no more caffeine rain. Just saving the city and feeling the strain.
Hello, welcome to the last of the petty cash. My name's Darren McQuade and this is
Chris Carter.
So in this episode we are going to be talking about the brand new Real Ghostbusters complete visual history.
Yeah.
I'm so excited by this book.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely amazing. We didn't anticipate getting it quite as early as we did. I think we was actually about a week off when I had notification saying that it was going to be arriving. I think I received it Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think as we record this, I don't think it's officially yet until tomorrow, is it? I think as we record this.
I think it's actually it's actually towards the end of this week.
Yeah.
I think it's the 9th. And what are we on today?
I can't remember what we're on. We're recording this on maybe the 6th, 7th, 5th. Lost track of dates.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, but just one thing I wanted to tell our listeners and watchers is that, so we actually recorded 2 episodes originally. This is now our second one because of the timing of the book coming out. So in our next one, when I say welcome to episode 2, it's actually going to be episode 3. So I might do a really bad overdub and just say episode 3 anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, so there is that. Have you picked up anything new lately, Chris?
So pickups. Basically, what have I had? I got this amazing kit from Martin Bryce at Shape Forge. Props like it's an RGB pack. The guy's work is absolutely insane. I think we'll do a little bit more about it towards the end of this episode, and we'll show you some parts of the pack and that. Martin's business model, again, like we discussed in episode 1 with some of the guys, you know, like Ryan Walton and that. Martin's business model is amazing. I don't think Martin gets as much love as he should do, and anybody who's looking for, you know, those sort of unusual props, you know, he does sniffer kits, he does the globoscope, and as I say,
did he do a slime scoop?
I think at one stage he was doing slime scoop. Whether he's still doing those, I don't know. But Martin is absolutely incredible to absolutely deal with. He's everything he's got is sort of there and ready to go, more or less. His communication is amazing. His pricing is superb, and the quality of the items are something else, you know. And you know, he's always on hand to answer any questions and that. So yeah, I mean, a big up for Martin at Shape Forge. And as I say, we will show you some glimpses of this RGB pack which he's producing at the moment, and it's a killer price. It is so good. So you get quite a lot for your money. So yeah, we'll go over that sort of towards the end of this episode.
Look forward to looking at that. I mean, I've seen a couple of little parts of it and it looks amazing. So yeah, we'll go into more detail in that a bit later on. But
yourself, Darren, any pickups?
So my latest thing is this Hi-C Ecto Cooler bag. So this isn't an official product, but it looks like the sort of thing Loungefly would make.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, this was made by a place called Western Evil, and it's a few years old now, to be honest. I never even knew about it back when they released it. Just found out about it later, and it came up cheap on eBay. So I thought, why not? It was like, I can't remember what I paid for it now, but it was cheap and it was buy it now, which my favourite things when it comes to eBay. And it just looks like a Hi-C Ecto Cooler carton. Not the sort of thing I'm going to wear out. Not sure if it'd suit me, Chris. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. You could more likely pull it off.
Yeah, I probably could.
Yeah.
It's not leather. I don't know what it's made of, but it's not real leather.
Pleather.
Yeah, pleather.
Yeah.
But yeah, really good quality, I think.
Yeah,
so,
it is. I mean, as I say, the colours on this, hopefully they're coming over on this, they really pop. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, it's a shelf filler, and yeah, you'd really like it on your shelf, to be honest. It's yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. And I don't know if they have a plan to make more. Hopefully they do, because I think that would be a good seller. And you know, hopefully Loungefly would even consider doing something like that, considering they've done quite a few good quality Ghostbusters bags.
Yeah. So the next one that comes up's mine. So keep your mitts off.
Yeah. So when you see one on eBay, you email
you know you're going to be
Chris.
bidding against me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And just one other quick thing, just before we go into other stuff, Chris, do you just want to tell us how people can find you on your social medias?
Yeah, of course. So you can find me on Ghostbusters, the Spirit of 84, on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, and I'm the Magic Ghostbuster on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or Vigo the Cosplaythian on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah. But before we get into this wonderful looking book, which I can already tell it's going to be amazing without even opening it, we do have a question from Matthew Wagner.
Yeah.
And it's basically about the upcoming Netflix series and what are our hopes for it. Yeah, do you have any thoughts on it yet?
It's going to be a difficult one. I think, obviously, the make or break for me is obviously how they continue the story. I know, obviously, Gil and Jason are, I think, they're executive directors on this,
I believe
aren't they?
So, yes. I don't know if they're writing anything,
right?
But they'll have input, certainly.
Yeah. And from what we can gather, they're going to sort of pick up with like where we are with the kids, sort of afterlife, Frozen Empire touch, I think. It will be interesting to see what the animation style's like. At the moment, it's being put out as like a 3D type animation. Yeah,
that's what the rumours are. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. All I'm hoping for is a good story and a decent animation style. Because I mean, I know it isn't animation, but the previous Dark Horse comic, a lot of people were not fans of the artwork.
No.
Me included on that.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's a good animation style and it's a good story. Is all I'm really
I think obviously
for.
you're saying about the Dark Horse comics, the recent releases which we've just had. I think most of us are starting to get those dropped through the door now. I prefer the writing and sort of the
step up.
Yeah, the animation work or the drawing work on these ones. So yeah, really nice.
Yeah, definitely. And so like I say, I'm really just hoping for a good story that's going to continue what we've had so far. I would like to see an animation that maybe goes back in time a bit to give us the adventures of the Ghostbusters before they disbanded, which I don't think is going to be anything we're going to get in this series, but hopefully.
Yeah, a little bit of a background story, so as we know.
Nice. Yeah, things like that. The only thing I think people need to remember as well, don't go comparing it to the real Ghostbusters, because I think you're always going to get that when it wasn't as good as the original. And you get that in any franchise, don't you? People say Star Wars, Jurassic Park, and sometimes that's often true, but that doesn't mean it's bad.
I think you've only got to, point in term is if you look back to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which has been revisited so many times.
Lost track of it.
Yeah, as like, animation. Obviously, everybody loves the original. There's been a couple of areas I've just been not quite so keen on it, but of late it's picked up again, and that's quite good. So yeah, I mean, fingers crossed with this one. As I say, I think Ghost Corps are also heavily involved with this, so they know what we want. They know what the fans want.
Yeah, they listen more than people think.
Oh yeah, definitely more than you realise. So
and ultimately they are in the business to make a successful show that's going to make them money. So they're not going to purposely make it bad or anything.
No, they're not going to stick something out there that we don't like. And I think obviously one of the other questions Matthew was asking.
Oh yes, it was about the old re-releasing the whole Tahiti soundtrack from back in the day. Would we like it? And how they could do it on vinyl and that sort of thing, which certainly would love it. I guess the main issue for that is going to be licensing, because it's different songs, and I know that can be a complicated area. Probably need a lawyer on to talk about that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but there's a market for it, definitely.
Absolutely.
If it was released, we would we'd
snap it up.
Yeah, we would snap it up in spades. Literally, everybody would want a copy.
Yeah, a bit like what we did with the GB2 soundtrack, the orchestral soundtrack.
Yeah.
Because obviously at that point we hadn't had one.
No.
When did that come out now? 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Look back in time and just can't remember the dates on some of this stuff. It gets confusing. But yeah, so that's all that stuff. Shall we now talk about this wonderful book?
Yep, so obviously I think everybody was aware that a good friend Craig over at Yes Have Some and Troy Benjamin were working on this incredible book. As I say, I think when we briefly touched on it last time, it was something that myself and Darren, the moment we found out about it, we're incredibly excited about.
Pre-ordered straight away.
Yeah. and it's quite funny because I actually, I messaged Craig quite a bit, and I messaged him tonight, and I just said, "Fucking hell, mate, you just smashed this out of the park." This was like, if this was the only thing I got for Christmas this year, I would have been so chuffed.
Have you been good enough to get one of these Christmases this year?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what list I'm on. We've got a little bit of time to go, but
on that good list.
Yeah, I'm back on the good list at the moment. I mean, this book has just got everything you could ever want in it, and I know it's very, very difficult because they've got to cram everything they can into. I can't remember how many pages it is. I think it's 246 pages.
Looking at it, I'd say about 250-ish.
Yeah. And obviously there are areas, that they can't do absolutely everything, but when I browsed through this, I felt like they had. This is going to be one I'm going to be picking up, and I'm going to be savouring
this for a long time, I think. And I think even after you've read it, I haven't actually looked at it yet, but I know what my thoughts are going to be on this already. It's going to be a sort of thing you'll just pick up every now and again, flick through randomly a page and read something about an episode or a toy or something.
Yeah, the guys have got to be exceptionally proud of what they've done here. As I say, it covers all areas, obviously it covers the collectible side of it. There's bits in here on the prototypes, there's articles here on the actual cartoon series and the making of. And it's just something I don't think we ever thought we was going to get. No,
definitely not. So we've had visual guides to Ghostbusters before that have normally just sort of crammed a tiny little chapter in on the Real Ghostbusters, haven't they? But it's mostly been film focused, and never thought we'd get something on the Real Ghostbusters in this day and age. But we're getting so much Real Ghostbusters stuff now. I think in the last episode we talked about the Mondos, and I'm sure there's other stuff that's just gone out my brain now that I can't think of. But definitely the time of the Real Ghostbusters, and it is 40th anniversary next year as well.
I'd say this couldn't have come out at a better time. Obviously, again with like the Hasbro releases and that, the Ecto Glows and that coming. Some of the stuff that never made it into production coming out. This book literally, you go through this. This is like, when you was a kid and you flicked through like the catalogues and that your Argos, your Index catalogue, your Sears catalogues and that, and you was just like, kids nowadays don't understand that, and you'd pour over those pages constantly looking.
You stare at the page for an hour.
Yeah, that's it. Circling the bits that you hoped you was going to get for Christmas. And I can remember using it with my children. Give them an Argos catalogue, and that's your Christmas wish list. Tell me what you want. So this book, it is like that. It's just one that once you start to open it and go through these pages, you're falling in love with everything you see.
Yeah, we're going to be opening that in a second, but it's funny talking about Argos catalogues. Did you know there's a collector's market for Argos catalogues?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I've seen people pay a pretty penny for those.
It's absolutely crazy when you think about it, but I guess collecting anything is slightly crazy.
It's quite funny when we talk about catalogues, and we'll just very briefly, we pulled out a few bits here just to sort of for some backdrops and that. So this is obviously an original first edition Winston, which I bought in lockdown from a guy called Dean Richards, and now I bought a complete set of him. But in the back of this is the original sales receipt. Wow. You might just be able to see that. And that was from Index, and Index was another one like Argos that you got a catalogue, you walked in the store, wrote the numbers down, and you walked out with your figures and bits and pieces. And the price on the back of that, they're actually £1.46 per figure.
I'll give you £2 for it, mate.
It sounds like I'm being dumb.
Possibly.
But and it's just crazy because sometimes say things like that, the receipt on the back listing the four figures.
Because I know some people don't like old figures when it's got the little price sticker attached from Woolworths or wherever it was. I actually kind of like that stuff.
See, I really do as well. Yeah.
It's like, I know if you're into your grading, which I'm not, I know that would devalue it, wouldn't it? But to me, that just adds something to it.
I'm not a person who likes graded items. I think its grading is very, very subjective.
Yeah, there's only one person ever qualified to grade an item of mine, and that's me.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, and I think the same for you, really.
Yeah.
You know, only you can judge the condition of something.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do have, I think it's the Slimed Heroes I've got a set which are graded, and I think Darren's Ecto Glows.
My Ecto Glows are graded, but that was just because that's how they come up for sale, and that was a decent price. Otherwise, I wouldn't not fussed by the grading at all. And,
no, I'm always too twitchy to, once I've found something or once I've bought something, is packaging it away and trusting the post office to get it there and back safely. It's,
especially the way the post office is nowadays. Yeah. But interesting thing, I don't know how many of our watchers, listeners will know Index or remember Index, but if you ever go to Romford Market, there's actually the old Index sign still up.
Oh, I see, I didn't know that. Yeah.
So I think it was a pound shop, and I think when the pound shop closed, the sign that was covering it went down. So a little bit of interesting nostalgia for anyone who, I don't know what the chances are of anyone who watches us being from Romford.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know, yeah.
Right, so we'll just talk a little bit about the book. There's 2 editions of this book. So you've got your standard edition, or you've got your deluxe edition, which is the one we're going to be looking at, which comes in a wonderful slip case, which has like... The artwork is done to look like the old Kenner firehouse, and just that alone looks good.
Yeah.
You know, I would actually have that as a print if they sold those as prints. I'd have that up on the wall.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely.
And I mean, I don't know how many of you, you know, obviously some of the more hardened collectors will know, but obviously the Kenner firehouse came out in 2 versions.
Yes, it did.
So the one which obviously the guys here have used for the slipcase of the book is the one with the purple bricks. But it also came later on with a standard brown brick.
Yeah, they didn't paint them purple. And I guess that was just as time was going on. I guess
it was more likely a cost cutting,
back,
cost cutting exercise. But yeah, so I've got to be honest. I mean, I think as we said before, I mean, I own about 9 firehouses.
That's not an exaggeration either. For anyone thinks it is.
And the purple one is always very, very difficult. It's a slightly more difficult one. You know, you might strike lucky and it'll be the first one you ever find, but it can be very difficult to get a really nice, clean purple one. So it's,
the other thing it comes with is this little package here, which has 2 reproduction animation cells.
And these are absolutely killer. So
yes, we've got Ray sliding down the fire pole, which is really, really nice.
And then the second one is an absolute beauty.
Yeah, which is amazing. That's Egon looking at his PKE meter. For people who are listening to this rather than not watching, but absolutely stunning pieces.
You know, again, this was a lovely, lovely thought to put in with the deluxe edition. You know, and again, I mean, I'm fortunate. Over the years, I bought a lot of Ghostbusters animation art, and Joey O'Brien, who was you know, a massive collector. He still dabbles a little bit, Joey does. Really, really lovely guy, and his knowledge is second to none. Yeah, I bought lots and lots of Kenner bits and, as I say, Real Ghostbusters animation off of him. And yeah, I mean, that guy's had some amazing bits that's gone through his hands over the years. So, but this is lovely, as I say. If you're not a hardened collector of those sorts of things, it's just nice to be included within the book.
Absolutely.
So,
it looks absolutely stunning.
Then, the item itself.
Yeah, let's open it up and take a look. Quite excited about this, to be honest, and just immediately, like the purple colours, just.
Yeah, I mean, with everything with the Real Ghostbusters series and all that, the colours were so vibrant on everything they'd done. As Darren says, like the purples, the reds, the yellows, everything popped, and it made it really attractive to the eye. So it was, and the same with the toys and the packaging on the toys. That was
it was really nice packaging back in the day, and even just the artwork and stuff.
Yeah, it was very
really nice,
well thought through, wasn't it?
And I mean, this page here just has a picture of the firehouse box, which was a fairly basic box really for back in the day. But I think this stuff is better than what they do nowadays.
Yeah,
something about it.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah,
everything now looks overly photoshopped and I don't know, pristine, if that's the right way to describe it. So we've got to the timeline, which is on page 11. Yeah, so quite a hefty timeline here, beginning with June 1984. Do you know what happened in June 1984, Chris?
June 1984. Yeah,
Ghostbusters come out in the cinema.
Yeah, and I'd spent ages riding around looking at all the film posters going, coming to save the world, and I didn't have a clue what was happening. because that was a long time before the days of the internet. So
yeah, it's crazy to think there was a time when no one knew what that logo meant.
no, I had to rely on a program called, at the time, every year it come out, and it was like Film 84, Film 85, and it was with a guy called Barry Norman, and that was the first that I knew what the signs meant that I'd seen on all the bus stops everywhere, saying "Coming to save the world." It was me thinking it was a Christian spiritualist church or something that was setting up business, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I do remember hearing like it was like one of the first cases of proper viral marketing where it wasn't really explaining what it was, but it caught everyone's attention.
Yeah, yeah, literally everywhere you went, all there was on the bus stops and that, like, you know, they massive posters with the No Ghost logo just saying "Coming to save the world," and that was it. And we didn't know what it was. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's got here, July 1984, the pilot script of Filmation's Ghostbusters is completed and the show is already well into production. So I guess we should just mention what Filmation's Ghostbusters is for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
Which is basically, there was a Ghostbusters before the Ghostbusters we know and love.
Yeah, a forerunner really. So.
Yeah, and which, was it 60s? I can't actually remember when that was now.
Yeah, I think it was either late 60s or early 70s. I can't remember. There was a live action version to start off with.
Yeah, and I think one of their members might have been a gorilla or something.
That's it, yeah.
Or a monkey.
Yeah, Tracy, I think the gorilla was called, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, and so when the film Ghostbusters was being made, they wasn't sure if they could actually use the name, could they, at that point? So there's alternate takes of like the scenes outside the firehouse when they're doing their advert, where they've used alternate names. And I think Ghost Smashers was one, and maybe Ghost Stoppers.
Ghost Stoppers, yeah.
Ghost Breakers, maybe.
Possibly.
I think there was a few, and I can't remember what all of them are. I might have just made one of them up.
Possibly,
yeah. So if I've made that up, I might start my own franchise.
That's it, yeah. Ghost Stoppers, yeah.
Yeah, but yes, so I've never really... I tried watching it once and couldn't get into it. Have you ever watched it?
Yeah, I've watched a couple of the animated ones, and I have watched a couple of the live action ones. I think as well, again, obviously some of our sort of viewers and that in America, or people that are listening to this in America, might be able to put me on. But I think one or two of the members were in an old sort of sitcom from the 60s called F Troop. Okay. So yeah, I mean, if somebody out there can correct me on that or let me know, but I'm pretty certain they were. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it, and I've revisited it a couple of times, and yeah, it holds up. It's not the same as the Real Ghostbusters, but yeah, it's still worth having a look at. You know.
Yeah, definitely worth a watch, and if you like it, then you've got plenty of stuff to look back on.
Yeah.
But back onto the book. So I guess the most important date here is January 1986. Columbia licenses 13 episodes of an animated Ghostbusters series to ABC, which is what started all of this sort of stuff, really.
Yeah, and the way they got round the licensing was obviously adding the name, The Real Ghostbusters. So that's,
Yeah, and so this is the end of the timeline. So we're not going to go into every single detail about this book or show you every picture for our YouTube people, because we don't think that's fair on the author. If you want to see the whole book, you really need to support the authors and buy it yourself. And I mean, it's worth it. I'm on page 13. I already think this is a bargain.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's retails in the UK via Amazon, Forbidden Planet. I think there's a couple of shops on eBay selling it.
Yep.
Yeah, retails for around the £60 to £65 mark. I think initially when it came on Amazon, it was how much?
It was nearly $90 originally when it came up on Amazon.
And we both were going to buy it at $90.
Yeah.
You know, because we believed in the book, and we
knew who was doing it and all that sort of stuff. So never had any doubt it wasn't worth it. And then I think the standard version is about 30.
Yeah,
I think. And as far as I know, the standard version, you don't get the slipcase or the film cells, and I think it's got a different cover. But I think the actual book is identical, I'm assuming, inside. But I'll just mention the last date on here, October the 5th, 1991. Last new episode of The Real Ghostbusters airs, 20,000 Leagues Under the Street.
Yeah.
So 1991, long time ago now.
I mean, this book as well, what you have to understand about this book has been lovingly put together and collated by two guys that are just massive fans, Craig and Troy. For those who aren't familiar with Troy, that's bad on you. Troy was obviously part of the Interdimensional Cross Rip and that, one of the early podcasts out there. And as I say, Craig's love and passion for Ghostbusters absolutely shines through on this book. It's yeah,
no better people to write it, and I'm just on a page now. It's just got storyboards and stuff, and it's just so cool seeing all that sort of stuff. It's just amazing, and
I think if you asked me to write the perfect RGB book, and bear in mind, we're not giving no money to say this would be the book. All right, this would be the book.
We're not getting money to say this.
No, I tried to.
Cut.
I tried to get money out of Craig, but it's like trying to get blood out of stone. Literally. Yeah.
Yeah. This is showing a magazine broadcast in January 27. It's got an advert for the Real Ghostbusters, which is really cool. I'm just looking at pictures really at the moment, not really reading it because I don't really have time to read all the articles when we're recording this. But just seeing all this concept art and stuff, that looks amazing. Like stuff like that, I'll have it as a print on the wall. If I have wall space.
I actually have a couple of the concept pieces in the collection somewhere. I've got a couple of concept drawings of the firehouse and things like that. And again, we will try to dig these bits and pieces out and show you and share at some stage. Just everything about this book,
just seeing this page, it's just got like different shots of the Ghostbusters from different angles and different expressions on all the different faces,
different costumes, different clothing. Yeah, so I mean, if your mum, your dad, your wife, your husband wants an idea for Christmas, you can't go far wrong with this. You wouldn't be. It'd keep you quiet all over Christmas. You would reading this and looking at this. It's
and even if you just want to keep your partner quiet, buy them it. You don't even need a celebration. Just they stay quiet for weeks reading this.
Yeah, it's a really good book.
I quite like this Slimer page actually,
with all the different expressions and that.
Expressions of Slimer. And I don't think you appreciate a lot of that stuff sometimes when you're watching it, because obviously it's animated and it's going by
quite quickly
until you actually stop and look at the images. Again, we've got more storyboards there, which again are really cool.
I think certainly, I don't know how many of these, but I know quite a few. There's some art and bits and pieces in here which has been supplied by Derek Osborne. I think he lent the guys. I mean, I've got to be honest, Craig reached out to me at the time because I've got some sort of concept stuff and that he asked me to scan and send over, but I was either too busy or too lazy. I'll hold my hands up to that one.
I know what my money's on.
Yeah, to send them over to him, but I did promise him that at some stage I will dig these out, in case he'd like to see them. But it's a beautiful book. It's what I'd say. I think it's what I call a coffee table book. It's there. You put it out there and you just browse it and enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on a page now that's just on the first episode. Ghosts Are Us.
Yeah.
And I can never remember the name of these characters, but I'd love to see figures of them.
Yeah.
And Mondo, if Mondo were listening, do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we would buy them, Mondo, definitely.
Yeah, and that was probably my most watched episode when I was a kid, actually.
Yeah.
Because I know we had that one. There was others we had on VHS, but I think that was first, so that was just the one that always got watched the most, generally. What's that there?
And for you youngsters who don't know what VHS is, that was a video. Yeah, a long time before.
Yeah, that takes me back. You had to. None of that just going straight to the thing. You had to wind it back. Yeah. It would take like 2 minutes if it was a film.
Get your tracking right as well.
Yeah, get your tracking right, and then sometimes it'd just get chewed up, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
the tape.
Yeah, for no reason at all.
Yeah, and absolutely ruin your cassette.
If there was a Possessor Ghost back in the day, it would have been in your video. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe it could be an episode of a new cartoon, like a VHS Possessor Ghost or something. Be fun. The artwork is just like I'm struggling to talk and look at it at the same time because it's just so mind blowing. Really, it's really cool.
And obviously in here as well, there's lots of coverage as regards like all the Kenner line of toys and that, and again absolutely incredible stuff in here. Yeah. Even if you don't own the toys and you just want to look at what could have been or what or what might be still, because there's a lot of stuff in there regarding the unproduced items and that, which as Darren said last time, only appear in some of the later Kenner catalogues
Yeah,
and that.
the 1991 catalogue, I think it is specifically, where you had the Firefighter, I think I'm getting the name right on that, the fire engine, the Exoglowcopter, which they are now making, so hopefully they make more of it.
Yeah.
And this is a really nice image of the Spectral Ghostbusters, which is, I think, one of the more popular episodes of that one.
Ghost. Yeah.
I remember a guy, and I can't remember his name, actually dressed as one of them at the firehouse last year.
Yeah, New York, it looks amazing.
Yeah, absolutely incredible that was. Yes, I just love all the images of Slimer from the Real Ghostbusters, and there's one of him kissing Peter and getting slime all over him.
Which seems to happen on a regular basis.
Yep. I guess it was better it was animated, because I can't imagine Bill Murray would have been up for that every episode.
No.
This is cool. Stay Puft Van concept art, and concept art of Stay Puft Marshmallows. Can't beat any type of Stay Puft branding.
No, definitely.
And then Murray the Mantis. I had the book of that when I was a kid, so that always stuck with me.
Done by Ladybird, wasn't it?
I think it might have been. I can't remember now, but I'll take your word for that. Because they did some of those come with a tape as well, didn't they?
That's right. Yeah. So in the UK, I don't know whether you had them in America. So Ladybird were like a children's book, and over the years, I think I even learned to read with Ladybird books, and then later on they got involved with some of the sort of things like Ghostbusters, Batman, etc.
Yeah, and they're nice little books as well. And I've got more in my collection, and I'm sure you probably have as well.
Yeah.
They're not expensive things to find generally either.
No.
You can only find them quite cheap. I think it's when they're on the card with the cassette tape version
they get a little bit more expensive.
You can get the books fairly easily. This highlight episode here, Mrs. Rogers' Neighbourhood, where you had Watts, which I've always liked that episode. Always found that quite creepy. Yeah, actually, sweet innocent old lady was actually this.
I think that's
what villain.
You don't realise is some of the episodes of like the Real Ghostbusters were really quite dark, but they weren't sort of what we'd consider child friendly nowadays.
I think that's why we can still go back and watch it and actually still like it. I think if you took other I'm sure there's other cartoons that you'd go back and look on and couldn't get through them because they're too kiddie. But some of these older episodes are just brilliant.
Yeah, they were. There was lots of things, and I think I was watching one the other day, and Janine walks through a crowd, and she turns to a guy in the crowd and sort of says, "Watch it, Buster," because he's obviously touched her backside or something as she's walked through. So they were, they was quite edgy with the subjects and all that. What they was dealing with.
You couldn't do anything like that.
No, you couldn't. No,
really.
No, definitely not. So it's.
I mean, even stuff like that really is frowned upon there, and even more adult content. Yeah. Let alone kids shows.
Yeah.
This is quite cool. Just artwork of the trap and the PK meter and
again, what is nice is obviously the way they separated all the Real Ghostbusters traps, meters, proton packs, etc. They're not just a rip off of what was in the film. So these are all completely different in their own entity. And that,
I mean the PK meter especially is a different beast entirely to what we see in the film, isn't it?
Yeah.
And and the design of the proton packs, all that sort of stuff. I'm looking forward to looking at that proton pack later actually, because obviously it isn't just a normal proton pack spray painted blue. You've got a completely different design to it.
Totally.
So very cool. I quite like this Ecto one with the older ghost mouth.
Yeah, with the jaws on it and that. Yeah,
really cool. That would have made a good toy. Hopefully Hasbro listen. Yeah, cool concept art again. And like what we were saying about it being dark, the ghosts, the design of the ghosts, so creepy.
Yeah. I think there's many a child that, things like the Boogeyman and that those episodes absolutely, petrified them, it's,
Yeah, and I mean, I remember reading when Gil and Jason were working on Frozen Empire, they used Real Ghostbusters as a massive inspiration. Sandman, always like the Sandman.
Yeah.
That's the latest Mondo figure for pre-order at the moment.
Yeah, along with Winston.
I think we're getting more onto the merch side of things now. So we've got some nice artwork of the Green Ghost, because Kenner always called Slimer the Green Ghost on all their packaging. So interesting. There's a nice picture of Stay Puft there as well. Which I have a soft spot for the Kenner Stay Puft.
Yeah.
And we're probably going to do an episode on just Stay Puft.
On Stay Puft, yeah, literally.
Alone.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I think Stay Puft merch is such a simple face, and yet it seems so hard to capture because there's so many different faces on all the Stay Puft merch. Some have got it almost spot on, some are just miles off.
Yeah, they you know, sometimes body shape, everything is wrong, head shape slightly wrong, you know. I've got a piece in my collection, which again, when we do that episode, I'll show you. And it was one of the real big pushes to make me start seeking out sort of slightly more unusual pieces within the Ghostbusters world. So, yeah.
Now we've got images of the first bunch of figures that come out, and it's got the artwork next to it, and just brings back memories really of playing with it. Even though I've got them hanging on my wall, I don't actually always look at them.
No,
sort of
no,
walk
you
past
don't.
them and forget they're there. But yeah, and all these things like H2O Ghost and Bad to the Bone. I believe Bad to the Bone was going to be in Frozen Empire. But
yeah, that was one of Aaron's designs he wanted to bring back. Bad to the Bone was in Frozen Empire, and they ended up going more for the Phosphorus Ghost and that. And I think Aaron was a little bit gutted, as I say, you know, because he wanted to sort of have that slight crossover again from the Real Ghostbusters.
Yeah, absolutely. This is quite cool. It's just showing different concept for different ideas they had back in the time. Like this one, there's a net kind of thing attached to the Proton Pack, and this one looks like some sort of catapult. Yeah. So really cool stuff there. Makes you wonder what could have been. Yeah, it's looking really good. That's one of the. I think that is this image here is from one of the catalogs.
One of the catalogs, yeah.
I think that's from the 1999 one because it's got the Slimerizer packaging on there.
Yeah.
Which was one of the weapons that never got produced, roleplay weapons that never got produced.
Yeah.
And then.
So lots of unproduced items here.
Yeah, Hoover Gooper. I mean, look at that. That would have been a good toy. Absolutely. And all this stuff on this page would have been good. That one looks like Krang from
yeah, it does.
Turtles.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, yeah.
Yeah, so I saw him and immediately thought of that. But
yeah, we apologise to anyone who's just listening. So you're listening on Spotify or something like that, because we're browsing through a book and that, and it is quite difficult. We're trying to describe things the best we can. But as I say, if you get a chance, pop over onto YouTube and have a look over there. And
yeah, absolutely. And this page here has got these like simple stackers, they look like little ghosts, which I imagine would have been the size of maybe the ghosts you would have got in your ectoplasms, and then they just stack up.
Yeah.
Which would have been cool, and it looks like they would have made a bigger ghost, I guess, or monster, which reminds me of like Power Rangers when their vehicles would come together to make the big thing.
Ectoplasm, every parent's nightmare it was, you know. It seemed such a great idea to have something like that within a toy, and until you tried scraping it off your carpet or your furniture.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed the ectoplasm.
It doesn't surprise me.
When I got the firehouse for Christmas, the ectoplasm wasn't in it.
Ah.
And my mum denies that now.
Yeah.
I keep saying that sealed is worth like hundreds of pounds, and you chucked it in the bin.
And
she's like, I never did.
No, there was never one in there, Darren.
No.
Yeah.
Lie. I've never forgave her for that.
Yeah.
Now this is cool. This is I can't remember the name of it. I think this was just called the Neutrona Blaster actually. They did actually release a Neutrona Blaster which had the foam bit on the end,
but not like this.
But this was one of the original toys, because I think this was in like the 1986 Trade Fair catalogue, and it was like an infrared gun where you'd shoot the targets and all that. And I don't know if they ever actually explained why it never got released. It might actually explain that in here. I just assumed maybe the technology wasn't quite there back in the day. But I think we have to give this a good read, and then I think once we've gave this a good read, which is going to take a while to be fair, maybe we'll do another episode just talking about...
Yeah, we can revisit it, and maybe we'll highlight some certain items within it and go through it. And at the same time, I'll dig out some concept art and concept drawings which I've got, which are quite nice again. Yeah,
well, this is interesting. Green Glutton.
Yeah.
So, well, obviously a concept name there for Slimer at some point, and the original Slimer figure is based more on the pilot they did, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where Slimer is actually not their friendly pet ghost in that. And that was about 4 minutes long, I think. I think, trying to remember now, it's been a while since I watched it, but I think they're all in their khaki flight suits. They weren't
Yeah.
in different colours.
Yeah, so that was restored by Rob Barbera from Bobby 80s. He painstakingly spent so much time restoring that, and thanks for that, Bobby, because it's really, really appreciated.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's one of these things that would have eventually been lost to time.
Yeah, it would have been absolutely tragic if that happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys out there like Rob that are doing stuff like that, and hats off to you. We appreciate you.
And it's so good that you have fans who do that stuff, because they're not doing it for money. It's not getting any money out of it. It's just for the love of it. They want it to stay. And so currently on a page of the Proton Pack, the original Proton Pack, which I think started most of our journeys in Ghostbusters cosplaying.
Definitely
for a lot of people my age, certainly.
For my son, definitely. Yeah, he was. I've still got his original Proton Pack as well. I can remember it, and I've got to be honest, a great toy, because they survived the rigours of time.
Oh, I could
and
launch
abuse.
it across the room and it'd survive.
And you knew what it was instantly. You knew it was a Proton Pack. No mistake in it. And as I say, they, you could play with them as tough and as hard as you wanted. And I think the only things that suffered on the Proton Packs was the foam noodle
connector, maybe a little bit.
The noodle was.
But and the noodle certainly. Absolutely, just amazing. And I mean, I tried putting mine on recently. When I was filming another video, and I couldn't get it on.
It wasn't happening.
No,
doesn't surprise me.
And I'd actually, I don't know, we're going to look at a really good one later on. I'd actually like to see someone actually just 3D print an adult size one off the Kenner toy. I think would be cool. Because even though there's no electronics in it, like just noise was a simple trigger mechanism. Perfect. I think the closest thing we have to compare this to is the modern Proton Pack they did for Afterlife, which was made by Hasbro, which is a small blue one, which was great, really nicely detailed. But I just think the old one was just a stronger product.
100%. I mean, as well, going on from the Proton Pack, the trap they released. The trap,
just the thing of beauty, just the mechanism of just
such a simple
opening it
air pump, to open the doors on it. They put up with so much abuse from kids, and and as I say, they still survive today. No breakages hardly at all. It's
no, an absolutely brilliant thing, and you could got it right. You could put the ghost. You got the gel drawer, glow in the dark version. Ghost, you could sit on it and then press the pedal, and it'd launch him up, and he'd fall back into the trap. And it was, I was actually in hospital when I got that.
Was you?
Yeah, and I remember getting it on my birthday, so I spent that birthday in hospital, and I just kept going into the bathroom and with it, because it was really dark in there, and just looking at the glow in the dark bits. And
he was 27 at the time.
I was 27, now this actually reminds me of an eBay listing that came up recently.
So this what Darren's pointing to at the moment is the it's the carton like the store display for the ectoplasm. And recently I literally sent Darren. I went, look at this, and there was one on eBay, and I think it was more like it's still there.
I actually found another one.
Did you?
Because there was two different types, which actually shows here. There was one, because they originally just released the purple ectoplasm, didn't they? And then it was released with the 4 different colours. And it was buy it now for, was it about
$1,500?
Yeah, and that was dollars, so what's that in our money? About
£1,100.
And it ended. Normally it says sold when something's ended, but it just said ended. So I don't know if they just took it off, or if they sold it privately. Who knows? But I saw one of these go up on auction maybe last year, and it went for that sort of money as well. So it's not, it seems like a ridiculous amount of money for what is essentially a cardboard box, but they do fetch it, because those are the sort of things that didn't really survive, because they were shop things. Once the tubs are all sold, the shop person just chucks it in the bin.
Yeah, and in exactly the same vein is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutagen Ooze, and again they come on really, really good money. And I've seen sealed cases come up and go for like £5,000 and £6,000 in the past.
Absolutely crazy. And I think He-Man might have had a slime.
More likely for the slime pit, the Hordak slime pit or whatever. I'm not really up on He-Man.
No, I'm not massively. But I might be completely wrong about saying that, to be honest. But this is this is one of my favourite ghosts, which was the Slimer Gooper one, because it actually represented Slimer more and how he appeared in the actual show. He was oversized compared to what he should have been, but he just actually looked like Slimer, not the evil version. And then this is cool. This is the concept art for this Squisher ghost, isn't it? Yeah. So, or mock up, whatever you want to call it. So Firehouse. You got like 9 of those. So. Yeah, it's funny because I know a lot of people want the Firehouse re-released, but they're not that difficult to get, are they?
No, I mean, they're not commanding the money you'd expect them to. I mean, I picked them up as cheaply, within the past couple of years, as cheaply as £15 or £20 for a loose Firehouse. You can get most of the parts normally if you're missing the odd part on eBay. And they're normally missing the signs. That's one of the things that always disappears, and the railings. But again, so you can pick those up quite easy. The boxed versions, they're tending to fetch they're in a range of sort of £400 to £500. A mint sealed one, I don't know. You're more like looking around about £1 grand mark. I'd have thought for that.
Yeah, for mint sealed, absolutely. But it's not something I personally don't think they should re-release it. I just think there's enough old ones out there for that. Or if they do re-release it, I'd like to see some changes. Like I actually would have liked to have seen a re-release of the Kenner Ecto one, but with lights and sounds in a cool version. Yeah,
and again, same with the Firehouse. You could have had sounds with the Firehouse. So
yeah, you absolutely could have done, and added new signs and things. And you could have had a GB1 sign, GB2 sign, or even. And I've seen people 3D print more detailed 3D signs for them, which always look good. But so at the moment, I'm looking at some concept art for some of the Haunted Humans.
Yeah, a great range, the Haunted Humans.
I loved them. I think I had all of them as a kid, actually. Yeah. Or I had most of them. I think my brother had 2 and I had like 4. Yeah. But like the Garbage Man that turned into like the Fly and the Granny Gross and the Male Fraud, all brilliant.
The most difficult one out of all of the Haunted Humans to get by far is the X-ray copy. Yeah. It's very, very difficult to get a nice carded one,
it's funny, isn't it? Some like that are harder to get than the others. Yeah. And is that a case of they just made less, or is it just he was the more popular one that people opened back in the day?
Don't know. Some, that with toys and that, sometimes they are short cased. So you're more likely to get a case of figures like an assortment of 24, and within that you might only get 1 or 2 X-Cops or whatever. I don't know how it works back in the day with the Ghostbusters.
And funny enough, it reminds me of a post I saw from the Buffalo Ghostbusters a couple of days ago, where someone had got an X-Cop carded figure signed by Joe Cirillo.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was amazing.
It looked really cool, and he said it's the only one he's ever done.
Yeah.
So this was actually one of my favourites as a kid, which was the Highway Haunter. Yeah. Which is the beetle that turned into the praying mantis. Yeah. Which always liked, and I actually got mine out. I was doing a video on one a little while back, and just the way it springs up so fast, it was really cool.
I saw somebody a while back had managed to pick up a loose one of these, and they'd done like a Janine's version of a Highway Haunter in pink.
Oh, I think I remember seeing that actually.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And again, we go back to these toys, the stuff that Kenner really thought about these toys, and they were so robust. I think the toys today just don't stand.
No, they don't seem built to last nowadays. And it's the same with it. Like, even technology stuff, like phones back then were built to last, whereas now you flick it and it wants to fall apart.
Yeah, but back then phones you had to carry around in a wheelbarrow, Darren. That's why they was built to last. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, I think that's why my back hurts so much. So at the moment, I'm just looking at some of the roleplay stuff they did, and there's concept art for the old Ghost Sniffer, which, if I remember right, they called the Ghost Nabber as the toy, which is actually a very rare
difficult one to get.
Yeah, especially if you want a boxed one. But that was cool. Not something I had back in the day actually, but the mechanism on that was really cool, where you could press a button and spring forward and grab the little ghost. Yeah. It's very nice, because they've done a lot of stuff that wasn't actually in the cartoon series, but all really good stuff.
Yeah.
So the various the Super Fright features. So I've completely forgot what they were for a second. Which I was never really a fan of those. I'll be honest. They look like they're sort of like in space suits or underwater suits.
Not
really
or whatever.
my thing they were. I mean, I often found myself when I was playing as a kid going back to the original 4 figures.
Yeah.
Generally. But I still had a lot of the other versions. I had like the Fright Features and the... what was the other ones? I can't think of the names of them now. You had Fright Features, Super Fright Features, Screaming Heroes. That was it. That's the ones I was thinking of. Yeah, I had a few of them. Because one of them come with an actual ghost trap accessory, which was good. Because beyond that, the closest we had to a ghost trap was the big one that came with the firehouse. The containment unit.
Yeah, containment unit one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so this is the... what was that called?
Yeah,
Fright Features slime, was it? No, it wasn't called Fright Features. It was, I can't remember the name of it, but slime with a Proton Pack.
Yeah.
And there's 2 versions where he has a red Proton Pack or a blue Proton Pack.
Yeah.
And I find that people tend to say whichever one they have is the rarest. So people have the blue one say that's the rarest. People have the red one say that's the rarest. I actually don't know.
I mean, I think when I picked those up a few years ago, like now, I've been on the hunt for really good mint carded ones, and I was at a toy fair, and a guy had both. And I think I paid about £100 for the pair, and at the time I thought, well, does that seem a bit expensive? But looking back now, it wasn't, you know.
Yeah, because I've seen them go for quite a hefty chunk of money now, because I remember going into a local shop called Nerd Base, and they had, I think I've got the blue one, and they had the red one. I think it was about £80 if I'm remembering right. And I was thinking, I'm not big on variants, I'll be honest. Once I've got one, I'm not really that fussed about getting a variant unless it's like super cheap. But I was thinking about it and then didn't, and then I think 6 months later they were going for like £300 on eBay. I'm like,
it's funny because that batch that Nerd Base actually got, I was offered the whole batch.
Oh, was you?
Yeah, and there was quite a few of them at the time. I think there was 10 or 12, but the figures didn't add up for me, and I ended up not buying them, you know. And I think some of the cards were good on them, and some were not so good. So it's
so this is a page of the Ecto Glow stuff, and he's actually got the Ecto Glow concept art, and I don't think I've ever actually seen this before, which is showing what the instructions would like for the Ecto Glow
copter. And I would like to say I could see that and tell you what it looks like, but because I haven't got my glasses on, that's just a blur to me at this moment in time.
I'm actually just making up what I'm seeing. Chris doesn't know anything. I've actually swapped the book over and we're reading something completely different. So there's some other stuff. So we've got like a telephone booth.
Yeah, that's cool.
And a sidecar and a van. So some really cool concept art for unreleased things. So we got. I'm assuming this is a version of the Firefighter.
Yeah. What's this look like? This looks like a trash car.
Yeah,
or
like
something.
a trash car. Yeah, I've never seen that one before either.
Amazing.
Actually.
As I say, that we've got some great items in this, and
I could actually see some of the people who are good with their 3D printing looking at this book and
being able to do some stuff.
Because some people have done that before. We've had people who have made Egon's Lab 3D printed version, which I think you've got one of them.
It was BAM Toys back in the day, and I mean it was the only time I ever thought I was going to own an Egon's Lab. So and it was very well done, you know. So but again, hopefully down the line, there it is, Egon's Lab.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Hopefully down the line, you know, Hasbro might pick up on this one and actually do it.
Yeah, hope so. Because there's some other like lab type things here as well on this page of stuff that never got released, and one of them has the GB2 logo, so clearly designed with that in mind. And then so here's the fire truck that they were going to release and never did, which I think would have been a cool toy. And then on this page, it's showing the Ecto headphones with radar blast, which again that was one of the last things to come out.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't think that was a very good toy.
No, it's not a lot involved in it.
No.
They come up loose quite often. Quite difficult to get boxed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I managed to get a boxed one for a decent price, maybe a year, maybe
I
might be a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Not the best, because it didn't have the interior parts of the box, but the box itself was okay. But I remember firing the dart.
Yeah.
That would have caused some damage back in the day. I think that was quite a hard thing. Which I guess wouldn't happen now with health and safety.
No, I think it gets looked at a little bit more.
Yeah, and I guess it's all about Nerf guns now.
And what was mentioned earlier is the Ladybird books. And
then you got cereals up here. So there was lots of different cereals. Some had holograms on the front. I miss holograms. I loved holograms back in the day. You got holograms on lots. They're not just Ghostbusters. I remember Frosties with Tony the Tiger holograms on and things, and
because Ralston were obviously, you know, in America were one of the better known companies that were doing RGB.
Yeah,
RGB cereal. So
and I've got quite a few different cereal boxes now, but I still think there's loads more to get because obviously over time they had different promotions. Like I think there's one where you could win a Porsche. One advertising the figures and just different things on the back like door hang-on cutouts and that sort of stuff. So I couldn't tell you how many I've got now, to be honest, but certainly a lot more to find. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's some out there that we've still never even seen. No,
definitely. I mean, I've got some, I sat on the fence with it for quite a while. I've got some animation art from the advert of the Ralston. And but it's just a really nice, cool place to own. So it's
I think I remember you telling me about that actually. And so we got some pictures of the Hi-C drinks, which links back to the bag we were
talking about
earlier. And again, those sort of things are the things that end up going for lots of money now because people didn't think to keep a carton. You know, drink your drink and chuck it in the bin. And so I do have that one actually, and I've got a canned version of that one, but I still need to track down one of these. One day.
And then we're going on to the comics and
comics. I mean, how many comics were there? It was 150 of the Marvel comics, I think. Something like that, which is the one we had here in the UK. Which I really must go through what I have comic-wise and try and figure out what I still need. And then this is, I've seen these pictures come up online a few times. These are like from trade fairs back in the day, aren't they? And it's showing like what Kenner's displays would have been to obviously trying to attract the shops to buy their stuff. And like, I'd love to set something like that up in my house. Not that I've got room.
No.
But
again, like there's really, say within this book, like there isn't anything that hasn't been covered. Anything you could think of, and anything that for some of us we've seen a lot of these images before and that, but there are so many things in here that we, as hardened collectors, we haven't seen. And I'd say if you've got a love for Ghostbusters, this book's a must.
Yeah, absolutely. And bear in mind, we're only really flicking through it for this. We're not having a massive in-depth look. And I'm sure as we go through it in more detail, there's going to be so much pop up that we didn't know or see or anything before. And it's really cool. And it's nice to see stuff new, really, as well. Really good, but we are getting to the end now, so we just got some more concept art and stuff like that. I think we need to invent a new word to say how good this is. To say this is amazing and awesome just isn't really enough.
No, I think again, like as I'm saying, it's you feel like maybe we're being a bit gushy about it, because obviously Craig's a friend and that, and Troy, but it's not. Okay,
he hasn't paid us, so if we thought it was rubbish, we would have said.
Yeah, I mean, it is just about somebody that's like, put their heart and soul into a book.
I mean, it's cliche to say, but it's fans making it for fans.
Yeah.
And that is 100% true. Yeah. You can tell that it's made by a fan who knows his stuff. It's not made by some random author they've just hired to write a book who doesn't really know their stuff.
It's for somebody who knew what we wanted when they done this. So please, 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 support this. If you buy one thing this year, Ghostbusters related, buy
absolutely. This. And I mean, I haven't looked at the regular edition. I'm sure I'll probably check it out when I go to like the next bookshop just to see what the cover's like. But I think deluxe version all day long. Just the slipcover alone is going to look so amazing on your shelf. Like just the artwork and everything.
The chances are we'll end up buying the regular version as well.
Yeah, we probably will because we're those sort of collectors, aren't we?
Because it's slightly different. So.
Yeah, and I'd almost want to keep that in the slipcase and have the regular edition just in case I drop it or do something stupid, which I do quite a lot. Yeah, we've done that quite a lot.
So I think we're nearly getting towards the end of this episode, aren't we?
Yeah, so I think the only thing we've got to look at is the Proton Pack.
Yeah, so obviously bear in mind the Proton Pack isn't currently complete or built, but we want to just give you a bit of a feel for how this looks.
So this is all brilliantly made, and I mean, I'm holding it now, and like it's got some decent weight to it. You can tell it's quality, but also I don't think it's going to be so heavy it's going to break your back either.
No. What I will say is obviously the pack is 3D printed. Excuse me while I'm pulling bits out.
I mean, I'm holding the cyclotron part at the moment for those who are on our audio version, and I mean, it feels so straight. It feels like I could beat you to death with it, Chris, and this would survive.
Potentially, yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is 3D printed, but Martin's 3D prints are so clean. There's hardly, there are, depending on how fussy you are, you wouldn't have to do hardly any clean up on this. If you really want to go for the showroom look, then, some spray filler, a little bit of light sanding and a coat of paint, and it'll be there. This pretty much all bolts together with little end bolts and that. Martin's pre-drilled all the holes, everything. This kit, as I say, the kit that he's offering at the moment, he also does a trap as well, but the kit is for the pack and the wand. I think it retails, and again, check out Shapeforge Props, Martin Bryce on Etsy. He's also got a Facebook page. I think this retails at around about the 245 mark, something like that.
Which is a bargain.
This is it's just an incredible bargain, and this is going to be a beautiful thing when it's completed, because as I say, it's completely different to anything you've built before as regard proton packs and that. As I say, if ever you've wanted to own a full-size RGB pack, this is the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said earlier as well, the way he does business is just right. He's not one of these who takes your money, says it'll be with you in 2 weeks, and then a year later you're like, where's my pack? Which unfortunately is a story we've heard too many times.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that with Martin.
No, he isn't. As I say, I've got a lot of love for Martin. I've bought quite a few bits off of him. Again, when we're endorsing Martin purely on the fact that he's a guy who's doing business out there and he's doing it right.
Yeah, which is what we like to see. And again, we've not been paid or say that. I mean, you paid for this. You didn't get any deal on it, did you? And that's what we want to do, really. We want to support the people that deserve the support and give them shout-outs. And
so, as I say, literally, if you're interested, hit Martin up. Please tell him that you saw this on the last of the Petty Cash podcast, that, Darren and Chris were talking about it, because it helps us as well. But yeah, we just want people to succeed and do well, and guys like this need
it and deserve it. Absolutely deserve it.
Because there's a lot of work that goes into something like this, as I say, and when it's done right, I will upload some more pictures as I get through the build on this and start to get the pack a bit closer to being completed, and that we will post some more bits up.
Yeah, we'll always post pictures like this on our Facebook page. So if you're not already liking our Facebook page and Instagram, make sure you do. Last of the Petty Cash, and of course you can check Chris's, the Spirit of 84. You've got mine, the Magic Ghostbuster, Vigo the Cosplaythian. I doubt I'll post about Ghostbusters Proton Pack on Vigo's page. He doesn't really like Proton Packs. Although someone did give me an idea, and I apologise, I can't remember who suggested it now, but someone said about perhaps making a Proton Pack inspired by Vigo.
Yeah.
Like something different. Like one that Vigo can go and shoot Ghostbusters with. Yeah. Make it all like skulls and gothic and brown. Could be cool.
Could be cool things to do.
Might do that at some point.
Yeah. So as Darren says, remember to give us a like, give us a subscribe. Yeah. As I say, we absolutely love all the feedback we got from the last one from people. Everything was really positive, guys, and we so appreciate everybody taking the time to watch the podcast and that. If you've got anything new, anything you're doing, anything you want to shout out for, please reach out to us. We're here to support the community and to support you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just can't thank you enough, really. I was blown away by how many people watched it and said nice things.
Yeah,
and
really was.
Really good. So we have already recorded episode 3, which was episode 2.
Yeah.
Sounding like Star Wars with all this backwards and forwards numbers. Should we tell them what we got coming up in the next episode? So we basically talk about Frozen Empire and our time on it as supporting artists, and some of the props and stuff and crew items that we managed to get as well for the collection. So quite a lot to talk about in that one, and very excited for you to hear that. But make sure you're liking, subscribing to see all that when it comes out, and think that's everything. So,
Yeah. And remember, check Troy and Craig's book out.
yeah, absolutely. Check it out. Amazon's probably the most likely place people are going to buy it. But, you know, if you have a local bookshop, go and support them as well. You know, go and buy at your local bookshop if they stock it. But yeah, amazing book. Again, can't say anything. I just can't say enough about it, really. How good it is.
Oh.
Yeah. But thanks for watching, and as always, we are
ready to believe you.
The last of the petty cash went down the drain for Twinkies and coffee and a busted chain. No more donuts, no more caffeine rain, just saving the city and feeling the strain. Ray's got a plan, but it's held with tape. Egon's experiments always misbehave. Venkman's flirting, but it's all escape, while the bank account looks like a dried up lake. The last of the petty cash went down the drain for Twinkies and coffee and a busted chain. No more donuts, no more caffeine rain, just saving the city and feeling the strain. Ray's got a plan, but it's held with tape. Egon's experiments always misbehave. Venkman's flirting, but it's all escape, while the bank account looks like a dried up lake. The last of the petty cash went down the drain for Twinkies and coffee and a busted chain. No more donuts, no more caffeine rain, just saving the city and feeling the strain. Janine shouting, the budget's toast. Ghost traps buzzing, but we're broke the most. No time to worry when there's a haunting post, but who knew fighting